Okay, what's different here is now we're going to learn how to divide um, variables with unknown exponents. See, there's n, there's no number now, it just has an n. Here, let me see if I can make this bigger for you. There. Um, what we do here is this. First, we start by figuring out our sign. Since there's just one negative, that's an odd number of negatives, so our answer is negative. Then we jump to our numbers. 64 divided by 8. Well, how do I know what 64 divided by 8? Well, what times 8 equals 64? 8. So that equals 8, because 8 times 8 equals 64. That's 64 divided by 8 is 8. Then we write our variable x, and since I don't know what n is, the best I can do is just write n minus 1. I don't know what n is. So and since this is 1, the best I can do is n minus 1. And that's my answer. Again, how many negatives do we have? Just 1, right? So that's an odd number of negatives, so that means our answer is negative. Then I do 28 divided by 7. Well, what times 7 equals 28? Well, 4 times 7 equals 28. So I know my answer is 4. Then I do the variables. I do not know what n is, so the best I can do is just write n minus 2. That's the best I can do. Okay? Actually do it backwards, right? 2 minus n. And then here, I do know what, since there's no exponent, I know that the exponent is 1, so I write d 4 minus 1 is 3, d to the third, right? 4 minus 1 is 3. That's my answer. I don't know what n is, so I know I'm going to subtract these. 18 divided by 2, well, what times 2 equals 18? 9, so my answer is 9. Since they're both positive, I know my answer is positive. And then the best I can do is write c n minus 2. Okay, now you're wondering, well, why up here you wrote 2 minus n and here you write n minus 2? Well, because I'm going to try to explain it. I hope you understand it. If you notice, our answers are whole numbers. They're not fractions. Okay? And so the pattern that AC has is, since my answer is a whole number, that means that the bigger number is probably going to be on top. The bigger exponent is going to be on top. So even though I know that n, I don't know what n is, since the answer was a whole number, I kind of figured that the bigger exponent is going to be 2. So that's why I put it first, 2 minus n. Here, it's a whole number, so the bigger exponent I figure is going to be the top exponent. And even though I don't know what it is, I don't know what n is, I'm figuring that it's going to be the bigger exponent. So that's why I wrote it first, n minus 2, because you always put the bigger exponent first when you're subtracting. That's why I wrote it different here than here. If you didn't understand, I'll try to explain it to you in class. But this is really something that I know from working with these books for so long. I'm starting to figuring out. Having been working with these books for so long, I know the little patterns and stuff that they use. So that's really what it is. It's not really knowing anything. It's just understanding how the people that wrote these books think. Again, here I got 12 divided by 6, so that's going to be 2. Since there's no sign, I know they're both positive, so my answer is positive. And then again, it's a whole number, so that means that n has to be the bigger exponent. So so I put the bigger exponent first, n minus 2. And again, since it's a whole number, my answer is a whole number, it's not a fraction, so I know that n has to probably be the bigger exponent, so I'm going to write yn minus 1. Okay, I hope you understand. Alright, here we've got a positive and a negative. That means that our signs are different, or there's one negative, so that's an odd number, so I know my answer is negative. 27 goes into 3, or 27 divided by 3 equals 9, because 3 times 9 equals 27, so 27 by 3 equals 9. And then I got x to the n power. Here I got 1 negative, 2 negatives. My answer is, that's an even number of negatives, so my answer is positive. I'm not going to write it. And then 45 divided by 9, well, I know that 9 times 5 equals 45, so my answer is 5. And then, again, it's a whole number. But here you notice something. Notice something. Something that didn't happen with the other problems. The variables, the exponent variables are the same. It's n. So what I could do is 2n minus n. Right? And remember, we learned that if the variables are the same and the exponents are the same, when you're adding or subtracting, that means they're like terms and you can combine them. So what I can do here is 2n minus n is just n. So I got 5 to the n power. Right? Because remember, when the variable is the same and the exponent's the same, which is what we have right now, I can combine. So 2n minus n equals just n. And that's how I get this answer. Okay, well, what are we doing here? All right, well, here, whenever you have the same thing on the top in the numerator as you do in the denominator, if it's the exact same thing, your answer is 1. Okay, here we have the exact same thing again, so we know our answer is 1. Here, however, we do not have the exact same thing, but when you have the same thing in the numerator and the denominator, you just cancel them out. So x squared minus x squared divided by x squared is 1. So I'm going to put a 1 here. Y cubed divided by y cubed is 1, because whenever you have the same thing, it's 1, right? And so 1 times 1 is 1 as our numerator, and then there's nothing to multiply 3 by, or there is, it's 1. 3 times 1 times 1 is 3. So our answer is 1 over 3. Okay. A rule. Whenever your exponent is 0, that automatically makes whatever your number is, whatever your variable or whatever it is that is raised to the 0 exponent 1. So 2x to the 0 exponent equals 1. So 1 times 3x squared equals 3x squared. Okay, let me explain. X to the 0 power equals 1. 2 times x plus 4 parentheses to the 0 power equals 1. X, y, z parentheses to the 0 power equals 1. Anything to the 0 power equals 1. So since this is raised to the 0 power, I know it equals 1. And 1 times 3x squared is 3x squared, and that's how I get my answer. Okay. I have the same thing here, right? x2n, that equals 1, or they cancel out. And 27 divided by 9 equals 3, because 9 times 3 equals 27, so I know my answer is 3. Okay. Now here, I have an odd number of negatives, so I know my answer is negative. 16 divided by 16 equals 1. X squared divided by x squared equals 1. Y divided by y equals 1. N divided by n equals 1, so my answer is 1. Negative 1. Remember that anything divided by itself is 1, right? So 3 divided by 3 equals 1. 4 divided by 4 equals 1. X squared divided by x squared equals 1. 3xyz squared divided by 3xyz squared equals 1. Okay, anything divided by itself equals 1. That's a rule in division. Actually, a axiom or a rule in division. Okay, so here to do this, first we figure out our sign. Our signs are positive because they're both positive. Then 25 divided by 5 is 5, because 5 times 5 is 25, so I write 5. And then here, remember, it's a whole number, so I'm going to write a3 minus n, right? And then b squared divided by b squared is 1, so it's 1 times 5a3 minus n, which equals 5a3 minus n. So I'm not going to multiply it out because it's going to give me that same answer, so I just leave it like this. Okay? And then one more, I'm running out of time. This equals 1, right, because it's to the 0 power. So 2 times 3 is 6, plus 4 is, 6 times 4 is 24. Then x, 1, 2, and then 3 is 5, 6. X to the 6, because 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 3 is 6. That's our answer, and I almost ran out of time, and I'll see you on page 10.